Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Comics. My name is Sean,
And I am Mike.
and we're going to drink and do a little dance for you.
Squeak, squeak,
Thank
squeak.
you. Good night.
Sure.
Oh, wait, we didn't drink yet. Mike,
Oh,
what are we
yeah, hold
drinking?
on.
This is your pick.
Today we are drinking Blake's Hard Cider. El Chavo. It is a mango habanero cider.
So,
It is, as it says there, bold, sweet heat.
just for the record, I enjoy trying new things. I don't like cider. I just don't like it.
I know. But it's
Smells good, smells
fall.
refreshing.
It's fall. I feel like we could fall it up a little bit. We did Oktoberfest. We should do a cider. I had
You
this
got your you got your mango in my habanero. You got your habanero in my mango. It smells
it
really
is
good.
weird drinking a habanero drink,
Cheers.
Yes.
So
Oh
I
man.
like it. I definitely like it. It's delicious. Um,
Yeah.
it's sweet, and that's where I kind of run into trouble. Like, there's a lot of sweet stuff that I like alcohol wise, like Lindemann's Flambois or however you pronounce it, or like where it's like, oh, I enjoy like a sip or two, and then I'm like, but I can't drink it because I can just feel the weight of the sugar on my tongue. But
I could see
I'm
that.
gonna power through. It's
Okay.
delicious, and there's no,
And that,
I don't get any spice at all.
no, at the end.
No,
It's not
I get
like
like none.
it's hitting me at the end, but it's not like, oh, I just ate a chili pepper or
No,
spice.
not
It's
at
like
all.
I don't know if you ever had like a habanero or a jalapeno margarita. They're
No.
not really, they're spicy, but they're not super spicy because they don't put the seeds in. It's usually just
Mm,
the pepper itself.
it is
But
drinkable.
yeah,
It
it's
promotes
enjoyable.
drinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm, good choice.
Yeah. I I haven't had one in a while, and I do enjoy it. I was looking forward to sharing this with you. So,
Well, thank you, Mike.
mhm. Can't be beer all the time.
Yeah, I
The
can.
guy can't
But
fall forever.
oh man. So what are we talking about this week? I picked a couple. Do you got anything? I don't remember.
Not really.
So
So go.
I want to start with this book that totally took me by surprise. I didn't know it was coming out, didn't know anything about it. This is Dark Horse, came out last week. It's called Barstow. And I'm a big fan of the
I did the
desert.
homework.
I know. Big
Yeah.
fan of the desert, but also I looked at this on the shelf and I was like, oh, David Ian and Rebecca McKendry, who, like Dr. Rebecca McKendry, she's the one half of the podcast Colors of the Dark, formerly was on Shockwaves with a couple people, horror podcast.
Okay.
She's a writer, director, um, just a really cool person. And I was like, hey, and she works with her husband, David Ian, on films. And I was like, I'm definitely giving this a shot, right? We already got Barstow. The desert holds a mysterious allure for me because it's kind of a between place. And this plays on that. And yeah, I know. So you read it. What did you think of this?
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. I'm not the art bad, but there's points where like I feel like it could have been better when you're getting to like the bloody body horror, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like the colors kind of wash it out, and the scene, like the opening scene where like the guy's dragging his legs.
Yeah, he's like cut in half. His entrails are hanging out, and he's just basically like a torso upright, pulling his legs behind him.
Yeah. Uh, and then we're thrown into this like little FBI mystery thing. Um, I enjoyed the sheriff of the town, who's practically Willie Nelson and his flaky girlfriend Foresnick's. Those interesting characters.
She's this like hippie, and they live in this like little like I don't know if it's an Airstream trailer or if it's a. If actually no, it's what do you call that? Like a not a bunker.
Like an old 1950s hangar.
Yes, exactly. He looks like a redheaded Willie Nelson. You're correct. Papa, and then Star's his girlfriend, and she's this kind of aging hippie chick that's painting, but she's also the chief forensic. She's the CSI unit and the medical examiner. Um, they very quickly introduce you to a. I feel like that's the one thing where I kind of had to read it twice. It moves at a fast pace, introducing a lot of people, so I got a little bit head spun at first, but can totally
Yeah,
overlook that because I think it'll come out in the wash.
the next people you meet are the couple, and they have like a heart tattoo on their, like half of a heart on their, like the line on the side of their faces. So when
Oh
they kiss,
yeah.
it looks like a
Oh,
heart.
I was trying to figure out what that was exactly. Okay, that makes perfect. Now I get it. See, I didn't get that at
Yeah,
all. I thought it was like some weird
but then you're
affectation, like that I wasn't picking up on.
yeah, but then you get to meet the like the ballerina lady with the weird redheaded step demon child or whatever. And it's kind of like, okay, what's going on over here? And
Yeah,
we don't
like
know yet.
her desk is literally like on a giant one of the seals from the key of the lesser key of Solomon. Like it's literally on that like this giant sigil. Um, they don't really give you the lay of the land, so a lot of stuff happens very quickly. It's a cold open, and you just kind of like okay, follow along. You get a little bit of it, but it definitely pulls you through with a wait, what is happening? So that at the end, I'm like, I don't know what's happening exactly, but I know I want more.
Exactly. It's I'm intrigued by it, but at the same time, like I need to know more. Like the characters aren't fleshed out enough for me,
I think that'll
which is hard to
happen.
do in a
It,
comic, you know.
well, the first issue, right? Like
Yeah,
you really, if you're not an established IP, you really got to make people want to come back, and so you got to play a juggling game of like, okay, I need to introduce stuff and set stuff up, but I also want to make an impression that will make people want to see, and it's not necessarily easy to do, especially with a larger cast. I'm reminded of Jeff Lemire, and I forget the artist's name, Phantom Road. This has a
okay.
similar feel a little bit. This reminds me, in a way, of three books. It reminds me of that, Phantom Road. It reminds me of David Lapham's Lodger. And it reminds me, just in general, the kind of horrific art reminds me of Kelly Jones at times, like some of the stuff that he did in like The Hammer back like 20 years ago and whatnot. Uh, it's a really interesting book.
The next issue comes on sale in January. Um, I
It's
know you're
rough. It's
small press and
bi-monthly.
all. It's
It's
yeah,
bi-monthly. Yeah,
that's too long
it is, but it,
for a guy like me, you know.
I get it. Well, so
Yeah,
it would
I'd wait
work
for the
better as a
trade.
trade.
Yeah,
Exactly.
which is how this stuff goes. You know,
Yes,
it's meant to be a
exactly.
movie or a trade, and they're doing it to hopefully make it into a movie, but eventually be put in trade. You know, something like that.
There's a at the back. There's David and Rebecca have like a little written thing, kind of talking about the origin of the inspirations for the book, and you get a little bit more of where it's going in that they say we crafted a criminal enterprise lurking in a tiny, quirky desert town in a black market where demons are bought and sold. But demons always require a human vessel. We created characters who were victims of a tragic past and absurd presence, and an absurd present, aiming for a satirical take on the concept of the modern hero. And they also mention that, like Ben Temple-Smith's Wormwood, we see a benefit to possession. Why is it always a bad thing? So it seems like it's going to be a very interesting book. If it sounds up your alley, dear listeners, I would ask for it by name at your shop. Again, not on my radar, and I tend to go in really late. I go in now like an hour before close. So the fact that this was still on the stands in 2024 made me very happy. I will definitely put down to be I think I already did subscribe to this because I know the kind of, and we've talked about this on the show, like at Rick's in Clarksville, they'll order for a number one, they'll order a few more copies and see how it sells. And then number two, if it doesn't sell super good, like this book probably is not going to at that store, which is why there was a copy left for me when I came in at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Then they reduced their orders, and then eventually this is going to be the kind of thing like all Jeff Lemire's stuff. It's literally like after the first issue, if I forget to subscribe to it, I have to have them ordering me another copy. I miss it because it usually is just they're just ordering for the pull lists. So Ask for It by Name, Barstow. Really psyched about this book, and I
Barstow. Yeah, it
I
was
dug it.
like I didn't hate it. It's just not my up my alley.
It's
Because
totally
it's got
not
to be
up your
Batman and
alley.
Ghost Rider. If it's not a flaming skull or a rich guy in a bat suit, I don't care.
Um, so what if issue 2 has a rich guy in a bat suit or a guy with a flaming skull?
I'm in.
Okay, fair enough.
Flaming skull always get me in. Like I will. I don't know why. Flaming
Yeah,
skull. Yeah.
flaming skull. So next, let's kind of stick in the similar vein. I don't remember if I talked about the first issue on the show at all. If I did, it
I
was
don't.
very much in passing.
I
But
don't think we did because I didn't get time to read it, but I did read it
okay,
because why? Because Batman.
Batman, Full Moon, uh, Rodney Barnes, Steven Subic, Ross Wooten, Francisco Francavilla. It's
I'm just.
second issue, I think, of 3, but I'm not certain.
Oh, he did the variant covers.
Oh,
Francesco.
that's what it was. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
I think he did the
I
cover I'm holding in my hand.
let's see your okay. I love
Yeah.
this cover because tell me that does not look like Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
It glows in
obviously
the dark too,
monolithic.
doesn't it?
I heard that. I don't know. I haven't put that to a test yet.
Did it have a
But
white cover on it?
no, it
Like,
just looked like
no.
this.
Does it feel raised at all?
Yeah, it does feel raised,
Okay, then yeah, it's
but it's also that matte black that like your fingerprints show up no matter what. So I'm
oh, I
trying
hate
not
those.
to. I mean, I love
Yeah,
them,
ours are
but they're
shipped like
just
this in a white cover, and you got the.
oh
I don't know if they're. I wonder if they're ripping them off at your place.
maybe.
I mean,
Huh.
I don't blame them. Mm,
What'd you think of this?
best. I read both today. So,
Hmm.
I there's things I like and there's things I hate.
Okay.
Not a huge fan of the artwork, and so I'll just get with the things I hate first. So I'm not a huge fan of the artwork. I don't hate it, but it's part of this. It's moody. It's
Yeah.
interesting. Um, I don't think I like how he draws Constantine and people, if that makes sense. Like Constantine looks weird to me. Alfred doesn't look like Alfred at all to me. Bruce is just a handsome looking guy and whatever. But the non-established characters didn't bother me as much. It was just looking at that as like, oh, that's supposed to be Constantine. It looks more like Conan O'Brien on a bender, you know?
It does. It does. That's a good description. He looks old and bloated.
Yeah, like really bloated. And it was just kind of like, no. Um, the other thing I don't like, but I could tell this is kind of like early on Batman, so it's supposed to be Batman the first time he fights a werewolf,
Hmm.
which I can get behind, but I don't like the scientific denial of like Batman's all science. Batman to me has always been a guy.
This isn't spiritual. It's scientific. It's like okay, take it easy.
Yeah, it's like in the Cape Crusader cartoon where he punches the guy. He's like, shoot, I need help with this.
Yeah.
He doesn't deny all that stuff. He just if he doesn't understand it, he learns because he needs to beat it no matter
Well,
what.
he denies it to a certain point, and also I don't even understand how he's denying it because he's walking around talking a man bat, right? So
Yeah,
like
exactly.
we already know this dude turns into a human bat. So I mean, but I guess they're saying that's also scientific, which I think fits with. I don't know
In the
much about
comics, it
man bat.
was. Yeah, Man Bat was always like he took a serum. He's kind of like Morbius, where he tried to do, but turned him into a bat.
My thing though is even though that's scientific, it's still supernatural, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can, because everything supernatural is just science that we haven't learned yet, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's still like it's it doesn't make it like, oh, see, I can beat it with long division because it's scientific. It's like, no, it's
No.
sorry, dude.
But the thing I loved about it was the fact that Zarana
Mm-hmm.
or Zatanna.
Zatanna.
I keep getting mixed up with the dreadnoughts. um, excuse me. Zatanna is dating Bruce Wayne, and they're kind of have a relationship with the three, with like John kind of jumping in, like that line where he's like, "Oh, why, don't compare me to John," or something like that, that Bruce said to her while they're on the phone. And I just love that. That was fun.
I don't know where this falls in the Batman timeline. I don't know that this knows where it falls in the Batman timeline. I don't know if this is an Elseworlds. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know who shot. I don't know who's
It
shot. I don't know who's not. But
it reads like it's very early on. If he doesn't know there's vampires, it's very early on Bruce Wayne.
I feel like in the last couple of years there was a whole thing, I think, where Zatanna and Constantine were like an item, and they obviously in this they're referencing they were an item, but they broke up, and now it's Constantine is sore that she's fucking Bruce, right? And so I'm like, it makes a weird like love triangle kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
And I
interesting.
do like that.
Yeah, they're all three characters, so it's fun watching them play off that. Like, you know, I love Bruce Wayne when he's dating other heroes. Like I liked in the Justice League animated series, he was kind of hooking up with Wonder Woman, and I
Oh,
loved it. Oh yeah, and it wasn't like it makes sense because someone once told me it makes no sense. I was like, no, it makes sense because it's the only woman that could take care of herself, so he doesn't have to worry about her.
hmm.
When you date when he dates a woman, Joker's gonna come to town and try to kill his girlfriend because that's what Joker does. And if he's dating Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman's gonna pop Joker in the face. So
Yeah, good point.
yeah, so it makes sense that he would date girls that can handle their own and take it more seriously. So I always like that, and I can see Zarana. They had a history. He studied under her father to learn how to escape stuff and
Oh, I didn't know
basic
that.
illusions, part of his training. Yeah, it was in the those are our thing in the cartoon. The comic books always left that history vague. He was gone, trained, and then it turns out he trained with everybody. But yeah, so there's a history there. Yeah, it's an interesting relationship. Um, I would like to see it played out more in a more serious book than a one-off. Um, 4 or 5 issue. I don't even know how many issues is this miniseries.
I thought it was going to be three, but I noticed that at the end it says to be continued, not to be concluded. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. So it's a fun little thing in what could possibly have been a Vertigo book. With not the main book.
I too like the art. I noticed this in the first issue, and I'm a little bit more adjusted to it in the second issue, but I really like the art, and then I have trouble with the art. And it seems like in the first issue, there's this image. I think it's him and Zatanna, Bruce and Zatanna are at dinner, and there's like a third of a page panel of her like walking or something, and like it looks really bad. Um,
Yeah.
I think
Um.
some of the detail with people gets kind of it doesn't get the right attention. I mean, however, this is his style, and there's other moments where there's like unbelievable attention. So I don't quite understand, but it is all atmospherics, all the art.
You're definitely setting up an atmospheric horror movie art. You remember, like in the first one, he has these bat drones
Yeah.
that put out a fire. I'm like, what the hell? And I'm looking at that first time I read it. I was like, what is that? Is that they look kind of like bats? And then, a few panels later, it's like, oh, my drones came and put out the fire. And I had to go back and look at it again. It's like, oh, he's got drones that put out fires. That seems kind of weird for Batman, but I mean, he's Batman. Why not have drones?
Even like some of the stuff with the werewolf, I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at with the,
Yeah,
like there's times I'm like, I'm not understanding what the angle on this creature is it right here, or like the physiology doesn't quite make sense. Did you notice? I think the cathedral they're in, I think they call it out by name in the first one. I think it's the same, and I don't know if this has just been, ever since Gothic, Grant Morrison's Gothic, which we talked about, a couple months ago on here. I think it's the exact same cathedral. I don't know if that's just now an immovable part of like the Gotham landscape, but I'm almost
it could
positive that
be.
this is the same one.
They do that. Like, I feel there's a definite map of Gotham that they reference because like Kane Park is Bob Kane's,
Okay.
and there's like O'Neill Drive, and various writers have streets named after them, and various creators have cities parts named after them. So I know there's like a map out there, and maybe they just reference that in here.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, there's which is stuff I caught too. I didn't realize that was the church from
I think it's St. Martin's. I think that's the name of the church in Gothic. I could be wrong. I don't have it in front of me. I just remembered this now, or I would have done the research,
mm,
um, but I dig it. The art at times reminds me a little bit of Sam Keith. Um,
yeah,
like definitely
not
the second to last
not
page. It's a full page splash of the second issue. Totally Sam Keith to me. Looks just like Sam Keith.
yeah. There's part except the feet. 'Cause, Sam Keith draws the feet really big, like
Well, wait, the page I'm
comically
looking
big.
at, the page I'm looking at doesn't have feet. It's where he's busting out of the car.
Oh yeah,
It's a full page spread, or it's not even a spread. Sorry, it's just a full page
yeah.
panel.
That's
But
a
yeah,
nice looking Batmobile too. So I
it
give him
is,
props on the Batmobile.
it is. It's this. I think I don't know. I think this is you've definitely. I've read more Batman in the last year than I have, and I could not even tell you how long. Like literally couldn't tell you how long. Not since Grant Morrison wrote. I'm lying. I can tell you. Not since Grant Morrison wrote Batman.
And
Um,
I was on the same boat for years as a huge Batman fan. I'm on the same boat since Grant Morrison left. I had no interest to go back to it.
because Snyder and all that. But even like I never paid. There's all
Yeah.
these one-offs by different people. I just shoved the baby out with the bathwater, and now I'm like, okay, I do like a good Batman story, and I've
Hmm.
been away long enough where I feel like I've gotten. We talked about it on here. I won't spend much time, but I just got the second issue. So I had 1 and 3 of First Night, that one, the big black label format that was 3 issues. Dan Jurgens and forget the artist's name. Takes place in 1939.
Yeah.
I got the second issue last week. I sat down, read the whole thing on Saturday. Outstanding. There's some compression issues. There's like a couple moments where I was like, this feels a little bit rushed or wonky, but
I
overall, I really
think
like that one too.
I think the hardcover came out for that, so I gotta buy that. Um,
It's worth reading. I dug it.
yeah, I'm excited about it. It was definitely one, like, I read that first one, loved it. So, and then especially after watching Cape Crusader
Yeah,
on
yeah.
Amazon, I'm kind of like really jonesing for some old school 1950s Batman.
The next one, it's been pushed back. I don't even know how many times, but that third. And I don't know how many issues the one I'm about to bring up is either, but that Gargoyle of Gotham,
Oh
that
yeah,
just absolute the first 2 issues of that blew me the fuck away, and 3 has been being pushed back. Like I think now it's like early next year. I'm sure it's going to come. The guy that's doing it, Raphael Grandpa, is doing everything pretty much, so I understand. I'm not like lambasting him, but I just really I want that third issue, and I want to talk about it with you because it blows me away.
they really need to, like. I feel like the comic industry needs to, and there's he could have gotten COVID and been sick for a month, or who knows
Yeah,
what happened, right? Obviously, there's any kink in the chain will screw
yeah.
something up.
Especially if one
Um,
person's doing everything, right?
yeah, it just takes one. Even if you have like three people doing it, it just takes one person to screw things up. So who knows what's been going on with them? I have not followed him enough to know. Um, but you think they would, like, DC would learn their lesson of, like, having those books in the can before they put them out.
Yeah,
Like, every time they get something hot, it's like something happens, and then it's like a year later before the next issue comes out. And it's not even like, in the can. It's just like, oh, well, we got the first one out. Yay.
yeah. I don't understand why they don't get it in the can. Like I just don't
Yeah.
understand that. I mean, and there may be business reasons. It would make sense that like in order to pay somebody that's a hot commodity to do this, they have to publish
Yeah.
to gauge the sales or whatever. Like, okay, so it's probably got something to do with that because otherwise, I just don't understand either. It's just like,
Mhm.
and this is a modern. I don't know about if it's always been a comics problem, but it's definitely remember uh Jay Lee and Hell Shock. I never read it, but that was like the book where people like just were so wild about it, and I don't even know if it ever finished. It just like every issue took a
No,
long time,
I
and
think it
you
did.
know,
Oh, there was a, what was it? Is it Battle Chasers? Did you ever hear of Battle Chasers from the 90s?
I have, but I don't know what that is.
Okay, so the issues came out this year.
Wait, say that one more time.
The last 3 issues of that came out this year.
What
It
company
was
was this?
Image.
Wow,
Yeah. Battle something no, Battle, I think it's Battle Chasers.
wow.
I'm like, I say Battle Chasers and I picture Danger Girl in my head for some dumb reason because they all came out. That's like the time it came out was like Danger Girl came out all those years ago, you know. But yeah, he just finished it. Like, he had 3 issues left to do, and he just finished it. Like, clearly he's been working on it for a while. But
Well, what did we talk about last issue or last episode? The Ghost Rider, right? The where
yeah,
it was like from 90 whatever to 2007. Um, the longest hiatus I ever dealt with was I think it was 9 years for Stray Bullets. It was like the penultimate issue came out, and then 9 years goes by, and then finally when it came back, he did the last issue, and then restarted it with like a new arc or whatever. That I understood because David Lapham's like, look, like I'm essentially an independent artist, and I'm going to do what
yeah,
feeds my fucking family, and he got a lot of work from the big two for a long time, so I
yeah.
get
He
it.
did a
Oh,
really good.
wait, he
Yeah,
did
he did a really
say
good
again?
Batman series, if I remember right. Back to
Did he
Batman. Yeah, he did like a
really?
12 issue Batman run. I think it was like a. I think it was on when Grant Morrison was doing his Batman run, and he was doing the other book.
Huh? I didn't realize that, or I forgot
Yeah.
it. So you mentioned Danger Girl. I don't know anything about it other than it just looks like like a TNA book
I'm.
essentially, like a TNA action book, which was very popular at that time. Um, but one thing I do know about it, other than that, is that there was a weird crossover at some point with GI Joe.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like what? And that leads directly into something we forgot to talk about. And in fact, we didn't just forget to talk about it. We both read it the day it came out. And I literally forgot about it until like 2 hours ago. I texted Mike and was like, hey, did we talk about G.I. Joe #1? And he's like, no. I'm like, I read it, but I don't remember it. He's like, me neither. I don't know. It's fine. I did not enjoy it, but I don't know. I very quickly just find the GI Joe is the least interesting aspect of the Energon universe to me. The least interesting.
That's interesting. Um,
No,
I
it's
like
least
the.
interesting.
I remember liking it. I don't remember much about it. Um,
It's pretty
mainly because my
forgettable.
brain's. It is it. Yeah.
I mean, it must be.
I
You
hate
don't
to
remember
say
it.
that. I hate to say that because I did. I remember enjoying it.
It's
Um,
fine. It just, I don't
yeah.
know.
I like them coming blasting with rocket packs, and then Baroness having problems with everything.
Yeah. You mentioned before we rolled. I think the best. Well, I like the Cobra Commander Destro stuff to a degree. I mean, they're just aesthetics. Like, so if they're on screen, then I'm happy.
I remember just kind of laughing that they referenced their had red lasers.
And in fact, really, isn't this whole thing like, I feel like that was always a conversation I would have with people who grew up watching the cartoon and switched to the comic, right? Where the cartoon, they all had laser guns, right? You know, and it just was
Hmm.
like, oh, how hokey or whatever. And here, I feel like Kirkman's making it like a very poignant, like, yeah, in the cartoon they had laser guns, and here's how we're explaining that it's energon based. And I was like, I appreciate that you took the time
Yes,
to do that. I think that's pretty cool.
yes, I enjoyed that. I remember really liking that line. Um, I was all excited about rock and roll. Very like, let's all see rock and roll go, and then, you know, last page.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I like
I guess
seeing,
we'll
you
see how
notice,
effective red lasers are, huh?
yeah, right. You notice the main Viper there is Mercer in a helmet, right?
I did not notice that.
Yeah, it's Mercer in a helmet. I mean, they don't explicitly state that, but
Well,
if
he
you
was a
look at,
Viper.
well, yes, and he's if you look at him earlier in the book, he's in the Viper suit, except he has no sleeves. And that Viper at the end, that the commander of the Viper team is basically the identical everything, but with the helmet on. So it's him as a Viper. I thought that was really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'll still read it, and I feel like it will surprise me, and it will get better and whatnot. And especially as we commingle more with the other shit, like in the most recent issue of Transformers, which we didn't talk about either, and I didn't even think of until just now, so we won't go over too much. But like, I love the thing where like, you know, we did talk about the previous issue where those people with the hiss found Starscream, and then in this
Yeah.
issue they've literally like grafted his abdomen onto the hiss tank, so Starscream is like a hiss tank from the waist down. That was like that kind of stuff with the Joe property. I'm really enjoying. It's just this book. Just I don't know. One of the highlights was Baroness cussing out Stalker in Russian or whatever it is, and then him surprising her by responding in the same language. And you actually so you actually looked this up.
So I Google translated on my phone because I was curious if I could,
So did
and
you
I
have to
could.
type all of that out, or did you cut and
No,
paste it from something?
my phone does a like you put your camera to it and it'll automatically translate it.
Got it.
Yeah, and I can't remember for word what it was, but it was something along the lines of like she said something oh, like you're an idiot, and he responds to her, because she doesn't realize he speaks in Russian, so that was the joke. But like I'm gonna tell your family that you're like some sort of like offensive thing, like if your family finds out you're like this, they would blackball you. And then she just responds like you're the worst or something. It was interesting enough.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was reading it and I was like, oh, I don't know what this says. I want to know what it says. I could do that with my phone. Technology.
Energon technology.
Yeah.
Uh, I like the fact that they reference in the split panel with Destro and Duke, where they're both like laying out the mission. They reference the events of Transformers.
Yes, that was
You
another thing
know,
I remember liking that they talk about the um chunk of
sightings of our robot
Cybertron.
enemies in the Pacific, and they're showing that picture of the chunk of Cybertron. So that was very
Yeah,
cool.
which makes it feel more because remember when that broke off, I was thinking, well, this is kind
Yeah,
of not being referenced enough as it should be, and here it is referenced, and it was
yeah,
also referenced in the last issue of Transformers, where it's this you
yeah.
see Starscream off while that is happening. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else I liked about it. Just an interesting team. I don't think they showed the guy in the suit with the
Risk,
handsome guy.
the
Is
new
it
guy.
Risk? Yeah. Um, he wasn't in it very much, was he? I can't remember.
Just a couple pages. I mean, there's not
Okay.
enough to really know what's going on with him yet. So I'm suspending
Yeah. Do you think he's gonna be Snake Eyes, like pre-accident Snake Eyes?
That would be fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be really weird.
I feel like we're waiting on a twist for Snake Eyes. Like rock and roll is gonna turn out to be Snake Eyes.
That would be lame. I would actually stop
I
reading the
agree.
book if that happened.
Yeah, I think rock and roll should just be rock and
Oh
roll.
man, dude, I'm curious. That I had not thought of the fact that this could be. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we've made several false speculations of where Snake Eyes is, so or, and hear me out, cue the
Okay.
music. He's Zartan. Dun, dun, dun.
Maybe. I don't think that's the case. I think
No, I think he's just a new character he created to be fun to use, you know.
there's a chance it could be Snake Eyes. I feel like that is interesting. That's kind of stuck in my head now. I I think I think there's a chance that I don't think rock and roll's dead. So I don't know what's going to happen there.
You know, because rock lives in the hearts of all that are true.
The heart of rock and roll is the
The
beat.
heart of rock and roll. Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I hope he's not dead. I don't want like
But it
I
would be
get you're
interesting
gonna
if
have a
he's Zartan
casualty.
and like if he's Zartan and this whole thing is a ruse. I don't know. Now I think we're
Okay.
reaching.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's drinking with comics. And
Yeah.
until next time, I'm Sean.
Until next time. And I'm Mike.
Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.